Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. You know, the ground beneath our feet, it usually seems pretty still, right? Quiet, unchanging. But actually, scratch that, because beneath the surface lies a hidden, microscopic battleground. It's this incredibly dynamic world where elemental forces are just constantly clashing and collaborating. And the outcome of this invisible war? Well, it is absolutely crucial to the future of our global climate. So today, we're exploring the fascinating, super high-stakes relationship between soil, iron oxides, and organic carbon. Okay, let's dive into this. 2,344 petagrams. Now, just to put that absolutely staggering number into perspective, a single petagram is 1 billion metric tons. So this massive figure represents the total amount of organic carbon currently held in the global soil pool. That's actually more carbon than what is held in the entire atmosphere and all of the Earth's plant life combined. But how does the soil keep all this carbon locked away? Well, the answer lies in something scientists call the mineral carbon pump, or MCP for short. You can kind of think of this process as the Earth's natural microscopic bank vault. It's an intricate system where soil minerals actively interact with organic carbon to trap it, stabilize it, and keep it safely stored underground, completely preventing it from escaping into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. And the head of security for this giant vault? Iron. To truly grasp how this all works, here's a quick roadmap of our journey. 1. The soil carbon vault. 2. How iron traps carbon. 3. The dark side of iron. 4. How carbon fights back. And 5. The environment takes control. Starting right off with Section 1, the soil carbon vault and iron's protective embrace. When you think of iron in the dirt, you probably just picture, rust, right? But iron oxides are actually the unsung security guards of our ecosystem. They're the heavy lifters constantly working to pull carbon out of the active cycle and lock it down into long-term storage. Consider this breakdown. Iron-associated organic carbon, or FeOC, makes up a massive, roughly 33% of the total soil organic carbon pool. One single element is responsible for securing a full third of the carbon in our soils. That proves iron is a real game-changer in global climate mitigation. Without its protective grip, our atmosphere would look dangerously different. Which brings us to Section 2, how iron traps carbon in this microscopic vault. So how exactly does iron pull this off? If we zoom in from the macro scale of global carbon pools, right down to the molecular level, we find that the process generally happens in 3 physical steps. Step 1 is adsorption, where carbon molecules stick straight to the surface of the iron minerals. Step 2 is coprecipitation. This is where iron and carbon actually form together simultaneously, mixing really tightly. And step 3 is aggregate formation, where these smaller complexes clump together, forming deep structural encasements that microbes simply cannot penetrate. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how you can see this protection evolve. We start with simple surface attachment, but as we move towards aggregate formation, the iron literally wraps around the macromolecular organic carbon. It builds this complex, impenetrable fortress around the carbon, creating incredibly stable composites that can last for centuries. Moving on to Section 3, the dark side of iron, the destroyer. Okay, here is where our story takes a pretty dramatic pivot. We've been praising iron as the ultimate protector, but it kind of has a destructive alter ego. Under the right conditions, iron stops being a security guard and turns into a destroyer. The vault doors blow wide open. This is the great paradox of the soil mineral pump. We have mineral protection on one hand, where iron stabilizes carbon, but on the other, we have carbon turnover. Through oxidation reduction cycles, which just means changes in electron flow, iron acts as a powerful catalyst. It can actually drive the breakdown of the very organic carbon it was supposed to protect, basically turning the vault into an incinerator. This whole transformation is largely driven by something called the Fenton reaction. During these chemical shifts, iron reacts with oxygen to release reactive oxygen species. And honestly, you can just think of them as microscopic buzzsaws. These buzzsaws aggressively chew up the stable organic carbon, tearing the molecules apart and releasing them right back into the atmosphere as CO2.
Now for Section 4, how carbon fights back by halting crystallization.
With microscopic buzzsaws on a loose, you might think carbon is just doomed, but it actively fights back. To survive, carbon intentionally disrupts the iron process. See, when iron forms tight, highly organized crystals, it loses its surface area and its ability to trap carbon. And this brilliantly illustrates how carbon molecules literally wedge themselves into the iron structure, creating a chaotic, poorly crystalline mineral state. This messy state is absolutely necessary to maintain the balance and keep the vault functional.
The carbon uses three specific tactical maneuvers to do this. First, complexation. It binds directly to the iron ions so they can't link up with each other. Second, incorporation. It physically invades the iron crystal lattice, breaking its structure. And third, competing adsorption. It blocks the surface sites, preventing new iron layers from forming. It's a true microscopic molecular standoff.
Finally, Section 5. The environment takes control and shifts the balance.
So who ultimately wins this standoff? Let's move to and see how this builds. The answer really lies with the puppet masters of the soil, major environmental factors. Just look at the gradients of moisture and oxygen. When soil floods and moisture goes up, oxygen levels plummet. This wakes up specific microorganisms that breathe iron instead of oxygen. They trigger iron reduction, essentially melting the vault doors, decoupling the iron from the carbon, and releasing huge bursts of greenhouse gases.
But beyond just water and oxygen, pH acts as kind of a master switch. Notice the steep drop here. A drop in pH, making the soil more acidic, can dissolve these poorly crystalline iron minerals entirely. It's a stark reminder of just how fragile this massive carbon vault really is when faced with environmental shifts.
Bringing it all together, this incredible visual maps out the entire journey we've taken today, from the trees capturing CO2, down to the water levels dictating oxygen, to the microscopic iron and carbon atoms fighting it out in the Fenton reaction or forming protective aggregates. It is one complete, totally interconnected loop. The stability of our global climate rests so heavily on these microscopic iron reactions holding strong.
So the crucial point we are left with is this. The vault is real, but its doors can swing both ways. As we face shifting climates and changing land use, how can we manage our agricultural and environmental practices to tilt this delicate balance? How do we ensure iron acts as the protector rather than the destroyer? Understanding this hidden microscopic battleground is absolutely the first step to securing our macro world. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.